So generally, following a military court-martial conviction, the person who's been convicted will be advised of their appellate rights. They will be contacted by a military appeals attorney who would, like, as with TDS or the ADC, TDS in the Army, the ADC in the Air Force, in other words, the military appointed trial attorney. At the appeals level, the service member also gets a military appointed attorney, but has the right to hire a civilian attorney too. And so following court-martial conviction, there will be a certain time period by which a service member can then file an appeal with their branch's criminal appeals court. Following that appeal, then the government, the attorneys representing the command side of things, will respond to the appeal submitted by the person who's been convicted, and the government will make its case for why, generally speaking, the conviction that the service member received was valid, was correct, was legally correct. Then there may sometimes be even more back and forth between the two sides, but ultimately the appeals court will take both arguments, may decide that it wants to hear an in-person argument, an oral argument by attorneys for both sides, but either way will then issue a decision and on any of the legal errors that were argued, and depending on what that court believes about the legal arguments, may alter or even vacate the decision by the court-martial. Then, depending on what that appeals court decides, then the service member, the veteran, will have a limited period of time to notify the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces, which sits above each branch's appeals court, that he or she intends to appeal to that court. The Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces is not required to hear every appeal. It will look at the notice that the veteran has filed and the legal arguments that the veteran has raised in that notice, and will decide whether to permit the veteran to provide a more lengthy appeal. And then the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces, if it takes that case, will then do the same thing, where it will, after receiving a brief by the veteran's attorney, will then receive a response, often a lengthy response by the government, where the government again will explain why the government believes that the conviction should stand. And then the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces will again have the ability to hear oral argument, in-person argument from the attorneys in the case, and then will ultimately issue a decision based on its reading of the record of trial and the various laws that are relevant to the particular case. So it's a lengthy, detailed, thorough process that really can get into the weeds of a case and into the laws that pertain to that case. And so it's complicated, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes a real thorough understanding of the law in general and military law specifically. And so hiring a military lawyer for an appeal can make for a big difference in somebody's case.